Hello there, I'm Manila Chan. You're watching In Question, broadcasting live from RT America National Headquarters in Washington, D.C. Here are the stories we're working on for you today. Saudi Arabia's crown prince is calling this month's attack on the Saudi oil field an act of war, but he stopped short of supporting a full military attack on Iran. In a full report, we're going to tell you the one thing MBS fears will happen if a war broke out with Tehran. Plus, we'll continue to learn more about how Boeing may have been able to prevent the worldwide crisis that has grounded their most troubled aircraft. And then the LAPD is feeling the heat today after one of their recruitment ads appeared on the Breitbart news site. And you won't believe who the police chief is blaming. We're going to tell you. All right, it's time to boost your news IQ. Let's begin this hour with a dire warning from Saudi Arabia's crown prince. In a televised interview, Mohammed bin Salman describes a dark prediction should an all-out war break out with Iran. But in that same interview, he talks about how he prefers a peaceful resolution with the Islamic Republic. RT correspondent Sayeh Tavangar has the details.
The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia sent a dire warning to the world, saying crude oil prices will spike to unimaginably high numbers in case of an armed conflict with Iran. Mohammed bin Salman made those comments during an interview with CBS.
The
region represents about 30% of the world's energy supplies, about 20% of global trade passages, about 4% of the world GDP. Imagine all these three things stop. This means a total collapse of the global economy, and not just Saudi Arabia or the Middle East countries.
Now, after the September 14 drone attacks on two of Aramco's largest facilities, it forced Saudi Arabia to temporarily shut down roughly 50% of its output, or more than 5% of the world's daily crude production. Now, the following week, Brent crude rose as much as 20% to almost $72 per barrel. Now, that might not seem as high at the moment, especially since we were about $130 per barrel in April of 2011, but that's still the biggest jump on record. And this is why energy experts are currently citing figures between $100 and $150 per barrel for the price of oil if Saudi Arabia and Iran, who are OPEC's highest and third highest oil producers, went to war. Now, currently, the price of crude oil sits at about $55 per barrel.
And Sayeh, how about any signs that the Saudis might want to use, I don't know, diplomacy to solve the problem with Iran?
Well, Manila, the Saudis are point blank blaming the Iranians for the September oil attacks. But at the moment, the Saudi kingdom also wants to prevent a war with Iran. Now, in that same CBS interview, Salman said he preferred a peaceful resolution. Take a listen.
If the world does not take a strong and firm action to deter Iran, we will see further escalations that will threaten world interests. Oil supplies will be disrupted, and oil prices will jump to unimaginably high numbers that we haven't seen in our lifetimes. The political and peaceful solution is much better than the military one.
Salman also said President Trump should meet with Iranian President Hassan Rouhani to craft a new deal on Tehran's nuclear program and discuss Iran's influence across the Middle East. Now, in another possible sign of diplomacy, Iraqi Prime Minister Abdul Mahdi announced he would visit Tehran soon in an effort to reduce tension in the region. Abdul Mahdi, who just arrived back from Saudi Arabia, now wants to invite Saudi Prince Salman and Iranian President Rouhani to Baghdad for a meeting. Now, according to Iran's news agency, Saudi Arabia has also just sent a message to Iran's president through the leaders of other countries for a possible dialogue. So even though the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and other European nations blame Iran for the oil field attack, it appears sanctions and dialogue are more feasible at the moment. But that, of course, could change at any time. Reporting the newsroom, Sayeh Tavangar, RT.
Over to Afghanistan now, where voter turnout in the first round of presidential elections were incredibly low. Officials say less than 20% of the country's almost 10 million residents turned out to vote. Now, if numbers are correct, that would mean the lowest voter turnout since the 2001 U.S.-led invasion. This comes amid multiple violent warnings by members of the Taliban urging against people showing up to vote. One local network alleges more than 400 reported deadly attacks took place across Afghanistan while the country voted. And happening today, Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou is expected to appear in a Vancouver courtroom for yet another extradition hearing. The latest round of hearings follows multiple deliberations from last week. Meng was arrested last December in Canada at the request of U.S. authorities who are seeking to extradite her as part of an investigation into bank fraud and alleged sanctions violations with Iran. Back in March, Canadian officials formally began the extradition process. And earlier today, residents in France said their final goodbyes to former President Jacques Chirac. Chirac was laid to rest today in Paris with full military honors. Among those in attendance were French President Emmanuel Macron, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and former U.S. President Bill Clinton. Chirac died last Thursday at the age of 86. And the World Trade Organization has reportedly cleared the way for President Trump to slap tariffs on over $7 billion worth of EU goods. According to Reuters, the WTO is expected to grant the record-setting tariffs after finding European plane maker Airbus and its American rival Boeing received billions of dollars in illegal subsidies. Washington has already issued tariffs on EU steel and aluminum. That also prompted the EU to release a list of taxed items of their own, everything from wine to cheese and other luxury goods. And as federal investigators keep digging into Boeing and its troubled 737 MAX 8 jets, new information is coming out about cracked wings. RT's Farron Franzak brings us the latest details from Reagan National Airport.
Well, Manila, not only did investigators find that the Boeing 737 MAX didn't have an important key feature installed, they're also finding that the regular 737 planes, well, those wings that help them fly, well, they're starting to crack. Now, Boeing did report this to the Federal Aviation Administration, and that now has the FAA inspecting all of its other planes. Now, Boeing says that the cracks were found in what's called the pickle forks. Now, these connect the plane's body to the wings. Now, these pickle forks, they're designed to last for more than 90,000 takeoffs and landings. Now, in a statement, Boeing has said no in-service issues have been reported. Over the coming days, we will work closely with our customers to implement a recommended inspection plan for certain airplanes in the fleet. Now, this issue does not affect any 737 MAX airplanes. Now, Boeing says that the issues were only found in just a couple of planes and that there was no indication that it would cause any flight issues for passengers in and out of the airports this afternoon. Now, on to the other issue with the Boeing 737 MAX airplane. Now, investigators found that a key system called the MCAS or the MCAS, well, that was installed in their regular Boeing 737 and their military tankers, but it failed to be installed in the Boeing 737 MAX airplanes. Now, what the MCAS or MCAS does, it prevents the natural tendency for a plane to pitch upwards or downwards. Now, pilots, they're able to override this system by just pulling on the controls, and once they do that, this gives the pilot complete control of the airplane. This was designed by engineers nearly 10 years ago, but however, in the 737 MAX version of the MCAS, the pilots, they can't override the system when they pulled on the controls, and the systems would continue to push the nose of the plane downward. This was seen in both the 737 MAX crashes in Ethiopia and and overseas. Now, the 737 MAX has been grounded worldwide since March after those two crashes within 5 months of each other that claimed the lives of all 346 on board. Boeing is expected to fix the 737 MAX version of the MCAS, making it exactly like the versions of their 737s and all their military aircrafts as well. Now, each country, they will decide when they want the 737 MAX airplane to return to its friendly skies. Now, airlines, they are still waiting on the FAA to inspect and regulate and also approve the 737 MAX, along with any related training. Now, Boeing says that it does hope to have the 737 MAX back in the friendly skies by the end of 2019. Manila?
And still to come, an LAPD recruitment ad appears on Breitbart's website, causing outrage and prompting an investigation. We're going to bring you the details in a live report. And later in the Sports HQ, Steve is going to share some U.S. success at the World Athletic Championships. We'll tell you all about it. Back in 2.
Aeroflot, Russian Airlines.
Dear viewer, thank you for finally changing the channel. I understand you're tired of networks that blur news with views. You're tired of commentary presented as fact and facts presented as commentary. They are not the same, no matter what the partisan hack want you to think. You know me. I'm famous for my views, and you'll get them, and the news, and me. Yours truly, Scotty Nell Hughes.
There's so much going on in the world, don't you think? When's the last time you had a real bird's eye view of things? Shouldn't the news be more than just hours of bickering? Give me 30 minutes, and I'll take you across the globe.
How do we amplify the voices speaking necessary truths in these strange times?
The corporate parasites in power today might think their control will continue forever.
Questioning, listening, learning.
To take on the brutal systems of privilege and power, eroding liberty and polluting our minds.
That strangles American politics.
Question more.
All right, so the DoD's F-35 Joint Striker jet's long-awaited release may be delayed just a little bit longer as this $1.5 trillion project was dealt another problem. The Pentagon has just acknowledged that following the air show in Germany last year, that a little small local radar company by the name of Hensoldt was able to detect the stealth fighter and track the two jets for about 150 kilometers as they flew in for the air show. So joining us to break this all down, former Pentagon official Mike Maloof. So Mike, the DoD had these jets showcased at the air show in Germany, obviously trying to solicit for new customers, get new orders, and they keep marketing this thing from Lockheed Martin as, you know, undetectable by radar. Yet here comes this little unknown radar company who tracked the jets without their knowledge for almost 300 miles by something called passive radar system. Mm-hmm. What is that? How did they do this?
Well, first of all, the plane was left on the ground during the air show purposely. And these guys were going to see if there was a flying demonstration and actually test it at the time. Well, the plane didn't fly, so they calculated, well, it's got to take off sometime. So let's just go out and rent a farmer's a field and plant our radar system to test on real time. And they did, and they picked it up. And the thing is that it's a low frequency radar, passive radar as they call it. It's a type of radar that cannot be detected by the pilot in the aircraft because it's passive. As a consequence, they will never know when they're locked on with anti-aircraft missiles or what have you. And it's in a rudimentary stage right now, but it's effective enough to be able to track.
Wow.
Now the question is, was there something on the aircraft that was not stealth, like a reflector? That they take those reflectors off in operations, but no. They can actually detect the entire aircraft with the passive radar, as I understand it. And I'm not a high-grade techie, but this radar system. And I will tell you that this happened once before, back in 1999, during the war in Bosnia, when we lost an F-117 stealth. And for some reason, their Bosnians had a radar system, and I know what company it came from, out of the Czech Republic, that was able to pick it up and shoot it down.
So our stealth system is not very stealth.
Right. And this is the problem. So this is why you're hearing a debate now by the Brits in Europe about a 6th generation. Do we go full stealth? Do we go partial stealth? Because what they're doing as well, because you're always going to come up with technologies that can overcome the older technology. And that's what we're seeing here. And the Russians and the Chinese have been working on passive technologies for radar for this purpose, to pick up stealth.
This is exactly what it does.
Exactly, it does that. Now what's going to happen is that in the debate, and this is where the Brits now are going into much longer term thinking because of the cost.
Yeah.
Do we invest more into the weapons systems that are more longer range, and you shoot the weapons off from a distance rather than, you see, stealth
having to fly in,
and you see the F-35 is meant for ground support and what have you, and it's not a big dogfighter, and it doesn't, it has limitations in terms of acceleration for a long period of time. So it's got real problems, and yet it's already obsolete. Yet they haven't really.
But we're at a $1.5 trillion
and counting.
And counting, still counting. So Mike, the system called, they're dubbing it TwinVis, was apparently set up at Berlin's Schönefeld Airport, like you said, it was right on the tarmac.
Right.
But my question about this is this, you know, within the DoD community, is this normal operating procedure? Is this okay, or is this kind of taboo, or shouldn't somebody be mad that happened?
Well, I don't think DoD knew about it. The company, being an entrepreneur company, wanted to test out this radar under actual conditions, and from what I can gather, that's what they got. The plane didn't fly during the the air show, and they were a little upset about that. But they said, okay, it's got to take off sometime. We'll plant it out in a farmer's field,
do you think the DoD's mad, or do you think they're glad that a company called them out?
I think what they're upset about is that this revelation has gone public.
Oh, gotcha.
Because
any passive radar. They want their customers to know.
No, they don't.
You want your customers to know this.
And they now know the type of radar that can detect stealth.
So we've talked a lot about the customers who are buying this, and one of them that was kicked off the wait list was Turkey, who's back in the news now with the Khashoggi stuff and the Saudi Arabian stuff, and obviously continually because of the U.S. being at odds with Turkey on how to deal with Syria and ISIS and what have you. The Turks got kicked off the sale list. Are they going to look into, especially with this news, are they going to look into other aircraft to buy, and what can they buy? Yeah,
they're already talking to the Russians about the Su-57.
Okay.
And I think ideally they would like to be still associated with the F-35, but if the Trump administration remains hard over about them not getting on board, then there are alternatives out there. And as I said earlier, there still is the debate whether you want to go full stealth in these aircraft, especially given the advancement in these long-range air-to-air and air-to-ground systems.
Right. There's other technology being developed.
Not only that, but you still can save the aircraft and the pilot by shooting off at a longer distance. Of course, you got to have excellent intelligence, excellent smart weapons to be able to hit the right target.
Well, there's
that problem. Yeah.
So there's that. So there's riddled with problems. This thing.
Pros and cons for everything.
Yeah, this thing is just cost overrun after cost overrun.
But as I said, it's a major funding issue for the future, for the Gen 6 aircraft, which is it going to be full stealth, partial stealth, equipped with these longer range missiles? And as I say, this is what the Brits now are debating for their next generation for Europe, generally.
Yeah. It sounds like the DoD continues to pour good money after bad.
Well, the plane is about 15, 20 years old already, the technology.
I know.
And the technology of the stealth technology on it is messing up. It's bubbling up, and that can cause a problem in detection.
Oh boy, more. I think we're headed towards $2 trillion. So we'll see.
Give it time.
As always, appreciate your expertise in all this stuff.
Sure.
Mike Maloof, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
All right, an LAPD recruitment ad is sparking outrage today. The ad appeared on the conservative Breitbart website, leaving many wondering why the police department chose to advertise there. At one point, the police chief thought it was a spoof, and now the police department has some explaining to do about this so-called technical error. RT correspondent Ashley Banks is joining us from the newsroom with more to the story. Ashley.
That's right, Manila. An LAPD recruitment ad is raising a lot of questions after appearing on Breitbart. The conservative online news publication is known for its alt-right views and often defending the Trump administration. In the past, it's published articles with headlines like, "Birth control makes women unattractive and crazy." "Gay rights have made us dumber. It's time to get back in the closet." And "Data, young Muslims are a ticking time bomb in the West." Because of the publication's shocking headlines in recent years, several advertisers have steered clear. It's unknown how long the ad appeared on the site. However, the Daily Beast editor-in-chief made the public aware of the ad a few days ago by tweeting, "Why is the LAPD running recruitment ads on Breitbart? Michael Moore, the LAPD police chief, was highly upset with the ad, wondering if it was a spoof to discredit the department. He then took to Twitter emphasizing the LAPD did not purchase or acquire ad space on the publication. Now, according to the department, the ad was purchased by Google and appeared on the right-wing publication by way of automatic placement. The LAPD immediately distanced itself from the publication, saying the department celebrates diversity and embraces it within our ranks and within the city we serve. Adding this ad goes against the department's core values, and the department is taking this matter very seriously. Now, at this time, the department has suspended all Google ads until the agency can have, quote, tighter control of ad settings and get to the bottom of what really happened to ensure it never happens again. Reporting in Washington, Ashley Banks, RT.
All right, Hurricane Lorenzo strengthened into a Cat 5 storm Saturday night, breaking the record of becoming the strongest storm recorded so far in the Atlantic. Since then, Lorenzo has weakened, though, to a Cat 2 storm, packing winds of about 110 miles an hour. According to the National Hurricane Center, the storm is heading northeast at around 10 miles an hour and is expected to skirt the Azores Islands as early as Wednesday. And Forever 21 now joins the long list of retail companies set to declare bankruptcy. The California fashion chain filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection on Sunday, reporting more than $1 billion in liabilities. The family-owned company will close 178 stores in the U.S. and 350 globally and shift its focus to its website and the remaining U.S. stores. We're going over now to the world of sports with Steve Christakos. Steve, athletes at the World Athletics Championships in Qatar are delivering very impressive performances. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, and you know it gets really hot this time of year over there. And the IAF event in Doha continued, though, with a historic milestone reached after some blazing fast performances in both the men's and women's 100-meter event. First up, it was the fellas, where American sprinter Christian Coleman started off the blocks hot here. Coleman was the big favorite heading into the final and did not disappoint with a scorching time of 9.76 seconds, sixth fastest all time and fastest in the world this year. 23-year-old earned his title after almost being banned from competing due to 3 missed doping tests, but the case was eventually dropped. Reigning world champion and fellow American Justin Gatlin took silver, with Canadian Andre DeGrassi rounding out the podium. The win places Coleman as the man to beat heading into Tokyo 2020. Now, over on the ladies' side, it was Jamaica's Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, definitely solidifying her stance as one of the best sprinters in the world. The 32-year-old finished the distance with a time of 10.71 seconds, clinching her 4th world championship title and the world lead this year. Fraser-Price's victory came just 13 months after the birth of her son, as she became the first man or woman to win 4 100-meter titles. Her time also put her within 0.01 seconds of her best time ever. And the Zhuhai Open wrapped up on Sunday with a somewhat surprising final between a 20-year-old up-and-comer from Australia and an unseeded Frenchman, Adrien Manarino. And the kid from down under, Alex de Minaur, looking for his 3rd tour-level title. First set, though, all tied at 3 games apiece. Manarino served, and de Minaur beats him with that backhand down the line. But the Aussie would find himself down a game later in the set, showing resilience, though he fought back, getting the leaping no-look backhand volley for the point. The crowd loving the effort there, and serving in the tiebreaker. De Minaur will take it after the Frenchman nets the return. And then later in the second set, another tight one through the first 8 games. The 20-year-old with a nice drop shot, which Manarino handles, but that patented diving backhand return gets him again. And de Minaur can sense the victory despite losing all 12 of his break point opportunities until the final match point. Manarino nets the return, and that was all Alex de Minaur needed to claim his 3rd ATP title of the season, winning in straight sets 7-6, 6-4. When with the win, he creates a 5-way tie for 2nd place on the 2019 Tour Level Titles leaderboard. And it was a big night in the MLS with that final playoff spot in the East on the line. NYCFC already locked up the #1 spot in the conference. And for New England, they just needed a win, and they were in. And the Revolution, playing at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, would make sure they took care of business. A lot of help from goalkeeper Matt Turner, making a spectacular save off the free kick from New York City's Alexandru Mitrita. Turner going airborne for one of his 6 saves on the night, punching that one out and staying scoreless after 62 minutes. But moments later, New England on the attack. Christian Penilla working inside the box, slips one to Teal Bunbury, curls that one by goalkeeper Sean Johnson for the lead. The Revolution crowd all revved up, and the squad not taking any chances of letting them down. 89th minute now, New England's Winfried Zahibo leaves it for Gustavo Bo, pulls back from distance, and just over the fingertips of Johnson, seals the victory and punches the Revolution's ticket to the MLS Cup playoffs, shutting out NYCFC 2-0. And LAFC has already secured the Supporter Shield with the best record in the league. But in their match versus Minnesota, Carlos Vela did this, making history, tallying his 31st goal of the year off a left-footed strike from inside the right box. And with that, he has tied the single-season scoring record set by Joseph Martinez. Vela now has one more game left this season to break the record when LAFC takes on Colorado at home on October 6th. That game right here ended, though, in a 1-1 draw. All right, now Manila, I have something for you and the viewers to check out. Okay. One of our favorite local guys around here. He has a key to the city. He's very popular in D.C. He was tapped for an ad here from CCM Hockey to make skates, goalie equipment, sticks. Okay. They're promoting their new stick.
So it's a hockey player.
It's a hockey player, and it's one of the most prolific scorers in the history of the NHL. And he's promoting their new stick.
Who it is.
And it's a pretty, yeah, you'll see. And it's a pretty spooky ad, but check it out.
Okay.
Just a dream. Go back to sleep.
That's
scary
great
stuff. That was clever, huh?
That is really great. Just in time for Halloween.
Just in time for Halloween and hockey season kicking off October 2nd. What would you do if you saw Ovi in your bedroom like that, just telling you to go back to sleep?
Telling me to go, having Ovi in there, my husband would say, you have some explaining to do.
Well, that's true. But he's such a fun, lovable guy. You see him rolling around the water fountains in Georgetown. But if I was a goalie in the NHL, I would be scared as well.
Would he be bringing his Ovi cereal for me?
Oh yeah, the OVOs. Those I heard were pretty good.
OVOs.
Yeah, we can get those at Giant also. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you had a bowl of cereal, maybe.
Yeah, maybe then it might be okay. My husband would be like, oh, okay.
Midnight snack.
You can hang out in the room.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for now, guys. Come back tomorrow starting at noon for more news and more chit-chat here. Make sure you download the Pluto TV app. We're on channel 279. I'm Manila Chan.
I'm Steve Christakis.
See you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Aeroflot, Russian Airlines.